Morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Credible. Thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't already done so, please put your name in the chat for attendance purposes, and we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are new with us, this is the Credible team. We have Mitzi Carpenter, who is the EHR administrator, Kanisha Carroll, who is the EHR specialist, Shannon Saunders, who is the data analyst and the EHR admin assistant, Shannon Clark, who is the credentialing specialist, and Ray Perkins, who is the billing and reimbursement administrator. On today's agenda, we're getting to know your employee homepage, credentials, financials, insurance, authorizations, and we will end with a Credible trivia game where 2 staff members will win a virtual Amazon gift card. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Clark and Ray as they share all of this knowledge with you guys today. Thank
you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon Clark, the credentialing specialist, and I'm going to talk about the importance of your employee your credentials and also the employee homepage on Credible. So give me 1 second. I'll share my screen with you, please. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, all right, good. Okay. Everyone, this is how your employee homepage looks on Credible. You have, of course, you see your photo. That's probably the first thing you'll see when you open up your homepage. And I'm not sure, I know since I've been with new hire orientation and the Credible piece, I always show you how to get to your homepage by clicking on your username under the Credible logo where it says logged in as, and that'll take you right to your homepage, or you can just search your own name, but this will take you to your employee homepage. And you have your employee information where everyone is assigned a Credible ID number, your first and last name, your credentials, your job title is listed, and sometimes we have work phone numbers for employees listed, your status, if you're active, everyone here has an active status in Credible, your work location, and if you are part-time or full-time, and if you're a nurse, we have that information listed. And if you notice, under your photo, you have your team assignments, your client assignments, and your program assignments. Also, we have your to-do list, which is very important. On the homepage, you must pay attention to that and complete any incomplete visits or anything in that to-do list on a daily basis once you log into Credible. So this is just how your employee homepage looks. And I also ask if any information needs to be updated to contact me, any employee information. I do get updates for if your status changes from human resources, so that is updated by me. But if in any last name changes, I do receive that update from human resources, so I do try to go in and update that information. However, if you see an error in the spelling of your name or anything, please let me know so it can be updated on your Credible profile. It's easy to update, just like click and it's updated. So please contact me so your information can be updated. Or if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And like I said, this is just a review of your homepage information I just spoke about. Also, your credentials are very important, and you can find that on the navigation bar, which was on the left-hand side of your photo. I always, I'm sorry.
Wage for people and let people, start getting more money, like $3.89.
With the credentials.
Can you please, if you're not speaking, or can you please mute yourself? One of my words.
So I thought to myself, I said, I need a bite.
All right, sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right, okay, thanks. Yeah, and your credentials, they can be found. I'll go back to the employee page. The navigation bar on the left-hand side of the page, your credentials can be found. You can click on that and on that icon on the navigation bar, and it'll lead you to your credentials. They are very important. Your credentials must be up to date and credible. If you have any new credentials, please submit to Human Resources so they can be forwarded to me and they can be updated and credible. I do also run a report every month in License Lookup to update credentials that have been updated. Run a report, and then I look at License Lookup to compare to make sure any licenses have been renewed, and I do update your credentials in Credible by that. So if it's not renewed on License Lookup, I cannot update that information in Credible. The credentials listed on your employee homepage allow you to see certain billable and non-billable services. So once an end date has passed, you will no longer be able to complete some services. That's why it's important to keep your credentials updated, and employees' credentials are submitted on the billing claim. Any incorrect information can cause the claims to be denied, and they cost the agency. So that's another important, like, they have to be updated and correct. There are certain type of services that require staff to have a specific credential, and the employee's credentials should be attached to each service. And accurate report data is extremely helpful for the leadership team to determine the needs of the agency. Credential reports communicate if there's a need to hire more staff with specific credentials. So we can't express this enough to please update any credentials you have on License Lookup. So, because I do, like I said, I run the report monthly, and I do update your credentials. And if you have anything updated, to send the Human Resources, and then they can forward to me that they can be updated and credible. And if you see, we do have a start date and end date on the credentials. In this employee, they have an LPC, the start date and the end date. So once the end date passes and this not renewed, you can't see any, service or anything. That's why it's important to update your credentials in Credible. All righty, Ray, I could turn it over to you.
Okay. See if I can do this right. Share my screen. Oh, you have to unshare, I guess, Shannon. There we go. So I'm going to do just a little overview of financials. We have a financial intake update service that is used to communicate current insurance information to program support staff. The intakes are typically done by same-day access in the assessment program. There are a few programs out there that it's done by the program, but very few of them. Most of them come through same-day access. And it's actually the screening staff that are doing it. And then that does communicate back to the support staff what they need to enter in the insurance information. Financial intake updates are required annually, or if there's changes, but that's usually done in the program. But the updates can be completed by clinical staff and support staff. It just depends on the program of service. Most of our updates are done by case managers for the most part. The financial intake update service is only needed in one program. You don't need to do a whole new financial just because you're opening someone in a different program. We use the one and then we do an annual one. That's all we really need. I've seen staff put in, like, they open somebody in outpatient and case management, and they'll do one in outpatient and do one in case management. And really, that's just, you're overworking yourself. You really don't need to do that. As long as we have one in the beginning of services, and then we have another one annually, or if changes occur with their insurance, then that's fine. There are some programs that have a different financial service type. Typically, if there's a grant payer involved, CCSU has a grant, the CRC, Drug Court, FEP, REACH, SOAR, and YSAT. Those are all grant payer programs, and they do have a little bit of a different financial. That's typically done by the support staff in that program. ASAP, there's a special financial for them, and that is done by our support staff person. We also have what's called an ability to pay service type. This is a financial service. It's for self-pay individuals. So it's required at the start of the service if they don't have any insurance coverage for the requested services. This particular service gathers their income and dependent information so that the support person can determine the patient liability. For outpatient and medical services, we charge a percentage. And for all other services, we have a flat monthly rate. The ability to pay service is always completed by the front-end support staff in that program. So if you're in case management and you realize I have this self-pay client, or even if you're an outpatient, I have a self-pay client, you need to contact your front-end support person so that they can do an ability to pay service. You all do have access to look at client insurances. You would go to, you'd open the client record. Let me switch over to my Credible. Why is it not doing it? Oh, because it kicked me out. Go to the test client. So all of you can actually view the insurance, but you typically will not see this add new insurance unless you're a support person. Only support staff are allowed to make entries into this screen. There is a drop down up here at the top right. And when you open it, it'll say active. It can be changed to all. You all can do that. As long as you can view the screen, you can change it to all, and you can see the history of what payers are in the client. Oops. Authorizations. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing, aren't I? Sorry about that. It's the same process. It's on the client's nav bar. You all can view them. Well, this is not a good one. Doesn't have anything. You all can view them, but only support staff can actually enter any information in the screen. So if you see something that doesn't look right, please contact your support person and say, this just doesn't look right to me. You also have the ability to change it from current to all, and you can see anything that they had previously. Well, this was very short and sweet, but are there any questions? About the information? Do you all look at clinical folks? Are you guys looking at this information to make some decisions, or?
Boy, quiet group today.
I know. I thought it was going to take longer to go through this stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to cycle back over to the credentials because we did have a question in the chat about the credentials, but I want to make sure that if there's anything else, Ray, that you need to talk about around the insurances, filling out the financial forms or authorizations. If there's anything else about that first, because we can.
I will say that when, we put in here that the when your credentials are wrong, it is very costly to the agency. Because if we're not alerted that something is wrong, if you put services in, they're not getting billed. And if someone doesn't tell us that something was wrong, we could lose a lot of money, or it goes out with the wrong credentials on the bill. And then that takes back end staff time to go figure out what happened. So time is money as well. So it's very important that you're aware of what is in your own employee record. And that way you can alert Shannon Clark and say, hey, this doesn't look right to me. You know, my job title's wrong or my phone number's wrong. So, because that's helpful information for staff if they need to contact you as well, if your phone number's not in there.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Or-
we did have go ahead, Ray, sorry.
Or if you look and you see, your client's telling you, oh, I don't have Medicaid anymore. And you go and you look at the insurance information and it's still there. You really do need to alert your support person. We also have to make some decisions around, can we fund a self-pay slot in this program? So that's important as well.
So we did have a question in the chat about the credentials that people cannot see the credential link on their nav bar. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So hopefully you can all see my screen. I'm on the test employee. And then this is his profile page, which Shannon had already gone over very well. So thank you very much, Shannon. There's this field here that's the credentials, which she pointed out, and this says what your current credentials are. When you're looking at it this way, it can get truncated. Some of you have a lot of credentials. So this can only hold so many characters in this field here at a time. But you can, it will only show you the ones that are active. So we know some credentials have expiration dates. And so when they expire, they fall out of this field here. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But you can also click this full employee info button and you get a bigger picture of your profile. And then you can see all of them. Well, this is a bigger space now. And you can actually see all of your credentials that are active. It doesn't tell you when they expire, but it does let you know that this is active. So if you are an LCSW and you don't see the LCSW here, that's a problem because you're thinking it's active. Something happened, so you need to contact Shannon Clark. And make sure that did you reapply? Did you fill out the required documentation and get it to the Board of Social Work? Those sorts of things. So, and then contact Shannon Clark and say, hey, I did all these things. I got my certification in the mail or my license in the mail. How can we make sure we get this into Credible? So what people are pointing out in the chat is, no, you cannot see this link here on the nav bar. The only people who can see this link are the people who have the ability to actually update people's credentials. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to write these things because I can see everything.
Truthfully, I'm gonna tell you, okay, don't I say this every month? Those of you who have been in every month, I say this every month. I learn something new every single day. Incredible.
Yes.
Every single day. And I also have to now give a nod to my dad because as I'm growing up, my dad always said, you're gonna learn something new every single day. And the cocky child I was, no, I'm not, because I know everything. No. So, I have to at some point go back to my dad and say, Dad, you're right. You learn something new every day. So this was new to me too. I really did think that people had the ability to click on their credentials and to see their credentials and not be able to update this. But no, the only people who can do this are people who have the rights to update it.
So we don't have a way to just let them view it and not update.
No,
it.
the view of it comes from the profile.
Gotcha.
and open up the full info, and then you can actually see more of them, they should all filter in here.
Yeah.
You can see here, though, I did give our test employee an LCSW, and it doesn't expire till March 31st of this month. So you can see that on their profile. I also gave them this MD, and I expired that on March 1st. So you don't see that now here on his profile. So you can see what your credentials are here. The other thing about credentials, whatever you see in this field in here, or if we open it up and you might see more here, those are the credentials that filter over into your services. And that is what then goes out on the bill. So when you see, oh, my LCSW is missing, my LPC is missing, my QMHP is missing, whatever, you're rest assured it's not going out on the bill. And then that's where those billing issues that Ray talked about come in. Access to services, which you guys talked upon, you talked about. We get a lot of emails and phone calls about, I can't see the individual treatment service in MHOP. I can't see the PSR billable contact note. I can't see whatever. So, and from front desk staff, what we hear, I can't schedule a med management visit for Dr. Trice in the month of March. I can't see it in her schedule drop down. Well, all of those are those credential issues where Shannon had talked about you can't see services in the schedule drop down if your credentials don't match. And we do that purposely. If we don't want just anybody scheduling and completing a med management note. We only want people with MD credentials, NP credentials, DO, the PAs, those medical credentials. We don't want anybody else doing it. We don't want billing to go out and we bill erroneously. And the same around some of those outpatient services. So when you can't see those, that's because there's a problem with your credentials. So that's when you can contact Shannon Clark. I will say, this is more of an issue for the medical appointments. The medical staff are scheduling next appointments 3 and 4 months out. And that 3 or 4 months out, during that time frame, the doctor's credentials will expire. So let's say the doctor's credentials expired on March 1st, but we're trying to schedule an appointment for May, the month of May. Sorry, let me backtrack that. They expire in March 1st, but we're trying to schedule an appointment for March. And it's the month of January. We're looking into schedule something for March. The doctor can't actually renew their credentials until sometime in February. So it really does kind of bog down the front desk staff because they can't see that appointment for several weeks. And so what the front desk staff end up doing for those medical folks is blocking appointments. And then when the credentials come through, they turn those blocks into the real appointment. So it's very kind of problematic for them, not as bad for the outpatient staff, but still, you might be trying to schedule a future appointment. You can't see it because your credentials will expire before that appointment. So credentials are a big thing. Anything else? Any other questions around credentials that people had?
Hey, Mitzi.
Mhm.
So when I'm looking at mine, it's showing that I have an LCSW, but under licensed health professional, it says no. Is that something we need to update, or is that not relevant?
And who is that?
Oh,
Who was
sorry, it's Jessica Schwartz.
Oh, thank you. Oh, hi, Jessica. Jessica, do you mind if we pull up your page? Do you mind if
sure.
everybody? And that might be a question I might need to ask Ray a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of fields in here that we don't use. So we have here, you got your LCSW, is licensed health professional. I don't think this really matters. The big fields are down here that matter. I think I got to do a little bit of research, but I'm thinking these are related to some different reporting, like state and federal reporting around meaningful use and some of those different things. So it pulls into different reporting softwares, which we don't participate actually in the meaningful use stuff. The bigger issues that we have are down here. We want to be sure people have a taxonomy number in here. And the claims that submit under employee, we want this to actually, Ray, we want this to be yes in her case, yes, as an LCSW.
I
Yeah.
believe so. Shannon Clark and Anthony.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and then I'll update it. Once she became credentialed, that's when it needs to change.
Yes.
So I need to change it to yes. I will change. I would update that for you, Jessica.
Yeah.
I'll go in right now and update it. So the next time you come, it will say yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Jessica,
welcome.
I'm glad
You're
you asked the question you asked, because that pulled us into here to look at this a little bit further. This really is kind of an important field for you licensed folks that can bill. This is the field now that puts your name on the sign and submit page in that supervising physician dropdown. So if you're responsible to sign off as a licensed person on somebody else's, on an unlicensed person's individual outpatient notes or their outpatient ISP or their family therapy or their group therapy, you have to be sure this is a yes in order for that clinician, the unlicensed clinician, to grab your name as a supervising physician. So thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Shannon. So she'll get that fixed for us. That's actually a very key field for us. Any other questions people have?
Shannon Robinson put in the chat that she has a no as well.
Okay, we'll ask Shannon Clark to put that on her list to look at that.
Actually, I'm right. I'm in Shannon Robinson's profile as we speak, and I just corrected it. So she goes back in there. It'll say yes.
Oh, great.
I
Thank
was
you.
in her profile now.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If you have questions other than things related to finance, or maybe you have other finance questions that we didn't present on, or if you have other types of questions, feel free. Right, group.
And I did mute everyone except for me, Ray, Shannon Clark, and Mitzi. So if you have a question, you will have to unmute your mic to ask your question, or you can type questions in the chat if you like. No
So does this mean that everybody's going to, we're going to get all hundreds on the crowd per today?
And it could be any question. It doesn't have to be related to what we went over today. It could be anything that you may have a question with things that you do in your everyday work. Now is your chance. You have us all here to answer these questions for you guys.
Well, while we're waiting for some folks to think of some questions, just quick reminder that we did push out a new appointment reminder module on March 1st. So now people are getting very lovely looking reminders in their emails. They get text reminders, which aren't as pretty, but it has more information than the other ones. They also get a phone call. The new reminders are telling people the date and time of their appointment, who their appointment is with, and where their appointment is at. So if someone's appointment is, the location is at the Suffolk Service Center, the appointment reminder will say, you have an appointment with Mitzi Carpenter at 10 o'clock on March 9 at 1000 Commercial Lane. So when when people are scheduling, primarily the appointment reminders for outpatient and medical, but so when you're scheduling those appointments, please be sure you're grabbing the correct location, because we don't want people showing up to the wrong place. We also have people are getting used to using telehealth versus virtual locations as well. So if you're scheduling a telehealth visit, please be sure you're grabbing either the telehealth location or the virtual location. And this is very, very important for those of you who do schedule these appointments. If you use a telehealth location, the appointment reminder is going to tell the client to report to a specific address. So if you use the telehealth Suffolk Service Center location, it will tell the client that the appointment is at 1000 Commercial Lane. The telehealth locations are for those clients who actually do go to an office, and we put them in front of a computer and they see the clinician or a physician who's offsite, but they have to come to us for us to put them in front of a computer. And then the virtual locations will tell the client that the appointment is via telehealth. And those are for those clients who are going to sit at home on their couch while they're having their session with you. So if you have any questions about those, don't be afraid to reach out. If you're scheduling appointments and you can't remember the difference, call us and ask us so we can make sure we get the right ones in there. We don't want people showing up when they shouldn't, and etc. I'm also kind of, while other people are, well, I'm going to let people, if there's any questions, because if not, I got a question for everybody out there. Nobody's got questions for us.
Mitzi, I have another one.
Yeah, go right ahead.
As it relates to case management, if they're scheduling out the annual assessments or the ISP reviews, will those clients also get a reminder text for those appointments?
It does go out for the assessment. So the comprehensive needs assessment that y'all are doing now, that is an appointment that goes out with a reminder.
Okay.
The ISP does not, but the assessment does. Thank you. That's really good. And it will also go out even when that assessment is in your form group, because most of what you all schedule for your assessment is a form group. And even with the appointment in there, it will go out in the form group.
And I did share in the chat if you guys would like to copy and paste it out somewhere for your future reference. Mitzi's definition that she sent out for telehealth locations and virtual locations.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
So I'm kind of wondering from all of you guys, if you can kind of comment on the new bulk delete, incomplete deletes that we have now. If any of you are like it, don't like it, you think it's, the best thing since sliced bread, or you're having trouble navigating it, you love it, you hate it. Any comments on it? Some people in the chat saying they love it. Makes it a lot easier to get rid of those deletes, those incompletes, doesn't it? Especially when you've scheduled the wrong form group and you've opened it up and then you've dropped, 15 services in your incomplete service list that you don't need. Yeah. Sure. If there's no other questions, I think we can do another demo of that. Shannon's asking us to do Shannon Robinson. We have lots of Shannons. Shannon Robinson is asking for a demo. I'm happy to show that again. Oh, we got a hand.
Yeah, Mitzi, this is Tamara Bass, I'm case manager. I had a quick question because I keep having this issue. I know it was explained before, but apparently I'm not doing something right. So whenever we do, we reschedule an annual, in terms of aging out the previous annuals, that the ISP, the TX Plus can show up, how does that process work?
Yeah, that's a conversation for another day.
Oh, wow.
The TX Plus it's a great question. Everybody struggles with it. You're not alone. Okay. First of all, the TX Plus is very persnickety. I think you have to be, dating is the key. Everything has to be dated just right. And we are going to do a coffee with Credible that is dedicated to the TX Plus. And in fact, maybe we should do that next time, Shannon. So we can kind of walk through those TX Plus issues. But in a nutshell, you really need to, you need to first end date your previous TX Plus. You need to go to the nav bar, you need to click on the TX Plus, and you need to edit that TX Plus. And then you need to go in and put in end dates all the way down the row, all the way down through all the PGOIs of the day before your new ISP start date. And then make sure that's also then in the header and save that. And then you cannot open up your new ISP until the start date of that new ISP. And it has to be on your schedule. It has to be scheduled on the schedule for the start date of the new ISP or after. You can't schedule it before the start date of the ISP. So there's lots of rules. It is and it's glitchy. And I am not a fan of the TX Plus. I let people know. I'm not a fan. But I think what we'll do at the next Coffee with Credible is we'll kind of walk through that process. So
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, please come to that and we'll make sure we get that done. Any other questions? I don't know that I have any incompletes here. Well, we'll find out. So, you can find your own incompletes by clicking the service tab and then this incomplete services button. If you don't have this incomplete services button here, you don't have any incompletes. But I apparently do. Let's see how many I have. Well, I got a few here. So this is the new format. There we go. Kind of moving people's videos around so I can see the screen better. I don't know if any of you have tried using the filter button at all on any of these. I've played around with the filters. I don't find that it helps me any, but might help some of you. So there is a way to filter through your different incompletes. Let's say you have down here, there's the number 10 defaults here. And then this is the number of items that you can see on a page. And then over here, it will tell you how many items you actually have. I have 1 of 5 items, 1 to 5 items. I only have 5 items. If you have more than 10 incompletes, you can change the page. So that's where the pages come in. So you can see there's different pages. I don't have multiple pages, or you can increase the number you want to see on one page. you could see them all on one page. But you could use your filters here. Let's say you're looking for a specific visit ID, and the visit ID is not the visit ID that's on the service list. It's this temporary service ID here. So you would have to know what that is if you want to actually search by that. And my guess would be nobody knows what these are. So, I mean, I don't remember these. So, but if you wanted to look for incompletes in a specific time frame, you could do that, or a planned date. The planned date is the date it was scheduled on your calendar. If you want to look at only groups, you could check that box. I don't have any. I'm going to check that. If you want to look for this particular specific client ID or specific visit type, the employee ID would be your own. So I'm not, this field is not going to help you so much, or you want a particular program. Some of you are assigned to many, many, many programs, and you only want to see the ones that are in your case management program. The residential staff, you're assigned to all the residential houses. You only want to see your incompletes at Chase's, knowing you have them at Chase's, Vincent's, and Wilkins, but you only want to see at Chase's, so you can select from the drop down here. I only have them in test, but if I had more, I would see more options down here, and I can pick as many as I want. So close that up. Over here, you have this drop down list. It defaults to edit, but when you click it, if you want to edit it, so you haven't finished the service, you want to get back into it and you want to finish it, you can come in here, click on what I need to do. I can fill the form out. Fill it all out, or it won't let me sign and submit it. Yes. Oh, maybe it went in the way again. And I'm going to complete this. And I can complete this. And I can go ahead to my sign and submit page. And go ahead and my wrong password. Sign and submit. Give me a weird time. Yep. And of course, once you do that, it automatically falls off your incomplete list once you do that. So I'm going to go to the service tab again. Back to my incomplete list. So that is now gone. If these are, services I don't need, I can choose to delete them one at a time. I get this warning, this action cannot be undone. Also remember, once you do delete an incomplete, we cannot retrieve it. It is gone forever. So we can delete them one at a time. Or if you don't need, I don't need any of these three. I can simply check box, check box, check box. And I have a delete button now up here that tells me I've got 3 in it. Click delete. Again, I get my warning. I say, yeah, I don't need them. Delete the visits. And now they're all gone at once. And again, unfortunately, if you're a manager and you need to assist in cleaning up an employee's incomplete services, you do not have the option to delete them all at one time. You do have to edit those, go to the sign and submit page and click the discard button. The other thing I also like to remind people around incompletes is if you're deleting them off the incomplete service list here, it does not take that appointment off your calendar. So you still need to go to the calendar and then delete that appointment off the calendar if you don't need that. Otherwise, it's going to continue to show up on your appointment history. So you can always delete appointments off your calendar. Even if you have an incomplete service attached to it, you can delete it off the calendar and it will take the incomplete service with it. You'll get a pop-up that says you're deleting an incomplete service with this action, and you say yes, takes it off the calendar and it takes incomplete with it. There's multiple ways of doing that. Any other questions? All right, quite group. We'll have a lot of questions next month with the TX Plus.
All right. If no one has any more questions, we are going to go ahead and turn the recording off, and we're gonna do our little fun quiz. So give me just one moment.